Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and or girls. Ladies and gentlemen, it's fantasy football. Harsh reality. Let's be honest. I know I've gotten a little skippy here in the very end of the towards the end of the season in terms of doing the shows. I mean, I've been very busy. That's one, and then going into the playoffs. Let me just be completely honest with you guys. It was a heartbreaker of a season finale. Jen Kober, welcome to the show. Do you do fantasy football? Are you still in it? I have one team left. I played in 3 leagues. Usually it's just 2, and I feel like a big part of the reason I'm just in 1 semifinal this year. Scott Berman, welcome to it. Playoffs. PJ Stansberry, Jonathan Mesh. How are you guys? It's semifinals time. John Mesh is in the semifinals of 2 of my leagues, not the one league that I actually made the semifinals in, which is my Comedians League. But it's one of those things, because I was in 3 leagues, I feel like I was trying to diversify tremendously, because I've done the thing where I've had similar players in similar leagues, and then when that guy craps out, the whole team and both go down. So I had 3 very different teams, and I think that affected some of the, I know it did. I'm not saying I think it did. It affected the choices I made in other teams. And I wish I hadn't done that. I wish if I could go back, that was the mistake that I really made going into this season, in that trying to make sure that all 3 teams are very different, and that there wasn't a ton of crossover. One of the few guys I picked up in all the leagues was Philip Lindsay. And luckily I got him. I picked him up because he was a bargain. He was a value. He was way down there, in the mid rounds at like 6-7. And so I was like, if he's going to be down there, I'm definitely going to take him. But ultimately, Ken Garr, welcome to the show. We're talking fantasy football. Are you still in it? Because it is the semifinals. Anyways, so he was one of the few, and he hasn't been that great. To be honest, I thought he was way under projected for the season. I was like, this guy was a fucking he went to the Pro Bowl, and he's down there in the 5th, 6th round. Well, it turns out in that instance, the experts were more right than wrong, because he hasn't had a very great season. And yet I'm playing him again this week because he has another good matchup. And it seems like every time he fucking breaks one out and gets a fucking score, it gets called back. And then here was the heartbreaker. So if you recall, in week week 12, it was must-win weekend for me. And I went into it, and I got all 3 wins, and I was in all 3 playoff contentions. We go into week 13, and and I needed, again, because I was in 6th place in 2 of these leagues, and I'm like, I have to win again if I'm going to stay in this. And I instead of going 3-0 again, and instead of going 1-2 again, or 2-1, I went 0-3 on my second must-win weekend, and I ended up, I totally crapped out of the play. Now, in my Comedians League, winning or losing wasn't going to change my position, so, because I had more than a game lead on the guys behind me, and I was more than a game back of the guys above me, so it didn't really matter. But what hurt me, Edelman, that's right, Edelman, okay, the last play, I'm winning, I'm in the playoffs, okay? And I'm up by 4 points. And the last play, Tom Brady throws a touchdown to Julian Edelman, and instead of winning by 4, I lost by 2. And my heart broke. It was one of those things. It was like after a car accident where you just play it over and over in your mind. You're just like, how did that fucking happen? And there was just one more play. All they had to do was just not for one more play, and then it was over. And my whole season was smashed on a rock in that one last play by the fucking Patriots in week 13. But I'll tell you what felt good, though. My team, because you know what? These 2 teams, they've been struggling. Like on paper, they should be winners, and they wind up not being winners. So then so in the first round of the playoffs, I would have lost. I would have lost anyway. I would have totally lost in the first round of the playoffs. So at least now I'm playing for first pick in next year's draft, which at this point is worth far more than actually crapping out. So, so that was a dagger in my heart. But then, of course, last week, win the quarterfinals. Now I'm in the semifinals. I'm playing, for some reason, even though I'm the 4th seed, I'm playing the number 1 seed in our league. But it's a guy I've beaten before. I'm one of his 2 losses. So I'm kind of that team that can beat this team. Rachel Cochran, how are you? Welcome to the show. We're talking fantasy football here. And I'll tell you what the big challenge is for me this week. The big challenge for me, I think I've got the lineup to really pull this off. I really, really do. But the challenge for me this week in particular is at quarterback. because I've got Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson generally has been pretty epic, and he's had 2 30-point games in a row. But he's playing the Tennessee Titans. And here's the thing. The Tennessee Titans are one of those middling defenses. And the thing about Deshaun Watson, that tends to be the kind of defense that he struggles against. If you look at his stats, anytime he's up against either a bottom feeder or an elite defense, he has great games. Versus New Orleans, 33 points. Versus Atlanta, 51 points. Okay? And versus Oakland, 30 points. But then you get against New England, 31 points, versus Denver, 31 points, right? But then against middling teams, Jacksonville, 21 points, 11 points. Indianapolis the last time, 19 points. So he tends to sometimes against these middling defenses not do as great. And my other option, and I picked him up as a block. I picked him up so that the guy I'm playing couldn't pick him up, and it's Jimmy Garoppolo. And Jimmy, of course, has been on fire. He is en fuego. Jimmy G is on fire. Like, he's on crazy fire, man. And he's playing Atlanta at home. Oh, my. And so on paper, here's the thing about that, though. Here's my thinking on that. Atlanta is losing weapons left and right. They really don't have any offensive weapons right now. What's his name? Julio Jones is questionable. Calvin Ridley gone. They're having to rely on Russell Gage. And as we all know, Devontae Freeman hasn't been who he's been. And Alex Hooper is beat the fuck up. So, if the San Francisco defense, which is the actual strength of the team, if the San Francisco defense and Atlanta's D is improved big time, they have been playing great. But if the San Francisco D just shuts down the Atlanta offense, which I think is what's going to happen, I think it's going to wind up ending up being something like 29-6 or something like that. I think that they're going to really shut down Atlanta, and I don't think that Jimmy G is going to have to throw that much. I think it's going to be a heavy run game. I think I think the shenanigans are going to come into play. And I think that it's going to be a big Matt Breida day for some reason, just because everyone's going to be looking for Raheem Mostert. So, of course, they're going to just start running Breida. He's going to do something weird like that. That's the vibe that I'm getting. And it's going to wind up being a huge Breida / Mostert. And then, of course, I think he'll hit Kittle for a couple of big ones. Jessica, you're tuning in just the right time. I was just singing the praises of the stupid San Francisco 49ers, who I think are going to absolutely boot the Atlanta Falcons this Sunday. And yeah, I think Kittle has a big game. And that's the thing is, even though last week it was Emmanuel Sanders that had the crazy big day, I could see it flipping back to Deebo Samuels this week that has the big day. But I personally, let me tell you something. I am playing both Deebo Samuels and Emmanuel Sanders in my semifinal match because I think it's going to be like last week. One of them is going to have the crazy day, and then one of them is also still going to have a very good day. If you watched last week, Emmanuel Sanders put up like 41 points, but Deebo Samuel still had like 14 points. He still had a very good day. So I think you're going to see that again. And so for this week with this matchup, and I think that's what makes it a hedge bet for me to go ahead and play Deshaun Watson. Because as my good friend Scott Berman pointed out, Deshaun lost last week. Even though he got me 31 fantasy points, he lost the game. And usually after a loss, he rebounds pretty hard. He comes back and starts throwing up some numbers. So I think I got to dance with the one that brung me. And I think I got to stick with Deshaun. Plus that if he does have Jimmy G does have a big passing day, I will benefit from it on the receiver end. But then if he doesn't, I'll somehow still have a shot with Watson. So that is kind of where I'm going with it. You have Deshaun Watson also. Exactly. That 3-point game a few weeks ago scares me. Tony Daniel, I could not agree with you more. And Scott Berman, you're saying it's going to be Mostert all day, but these are shenanigans. Shenanigans, okay? He's going to it's like the Bill Belichick. You think he's committed to a guy, and he ain't committed to that guy. And that's what we're going to see. That's why I think it might be like a strange, weird Matt Breida day. If he's still healthy. I don't know, maybe he pulled a fucking Darius Geis and he's already back out again. But I think he's healthy. Let's look him up. I've got the new iPad Pro here that I got myself. Way to go, Cass. Cass, are you in the fantasy football playoffs? Are you still in it? So really quickly, let's take a look at Breida. and see if he is. Where are you? There you go. According to this, Matt Breida is healthy. So if Matt Breida is healthy, listen, I'm telling you right now, it's good. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. I'm saying don't be surprised if instead of Mostert, even though they came out and said, we got to hand him the ball more, he's unstoppable. I'm telling you. Is he not playing? Is Brandon not playing on Sunday? Are they not playing him? Let's see. Is he out? No, it says that he's in. There's nothing that says he's not going to. So listen, I'm just saying the shenanigans, I mean, it's going to flip-flop. It's going to go different ways. That's why I think it's going to be a bigger Debo day than it's going to be a Sanders day this week, because I think he's just going to, I think that's just what they're going to do. So we'll see. Now, as far as tonight, yes, let's talk about tonight. Okay? Because listen, at the beginning of the season, I said I believed that the Baltimore Ravens defense was going to end up the season number 1. Now, they had a stretch in there where they were definitely not number 1. But now, I'm talking about Lamar. Sorry. Okay. Lamar not playing Sunday. We'll see. Okay. So, the defense, as of late, is on fire. This Ravens defense is hot, baby. Okay, and the Jets obviously are struggling tremendously, and they're in Baltimore. Listen, Lamar, okay, he's got a thigh bruise. He's going to be fine. He's going to light him up. I think it's going to be very difficult for this Jets defense to generate anything against the Ravens tonight. I think the Ravens just absolutely I think they, and if anything, if Lamar doesn't score a lot of points, it's going to be because I don't think he's going to have to. I think the defense is going to score points tonight. I think we're going to see a pick 6 out of this at the very least. I think there'll be a couple of interceptions. I think there's going to be a bunch of sacks. I think it's going to be a lot of Baltimore defense. You know, on the offensive side, he's going to do whatever's necessary to win. But again, I don't know that he's going to have to do that much. And obviously this weekend's means so much to me. I broke out the Emmitt Smith Classic because I need all-time success power. Jonathan Mesh seems to think that Lamar is going to get injured tonight. I don't think that he's going to get injured tonight. That's not going to happen. Not against the Jets. And the Jets defense has shown flashes of being very good, but then all of a sudden now it's not so great. So, okay, J.R. Huffman's spot. Okay, card spot. Do you think the Vikings could hold on to their wild card spot? I don't know. Probably. I don't know. This is fantasy football. You're asking me about real football. I don't have to go and actually look at those rankings. It's like maybe they can. I don't know. I really don't care. What I'm worried about is the Dallas Cowboys holding on to their fucking playoff spot. Now that they're tied up with the Eagles, and the Eagles, oh my God. How close was that game on Monday? The Giants almost had them. I was like, yes, Giants. For once in my life, I was rooting for the Giants. I was like, come on, Giants. Beat these motherfuckers. And they couldn't hold them down. Would you play Andrews at tight end tonight? And he is a bit banged up. Or O.J. Howard versus Detroit. Listen, man. I think this is much like the Deshaun Jimmy G thing. This is like two good choices. You know, I don't think you're going to necessarily go wrong with either choice. I think Andrews, even though he is banged up, he seems to still be connecting. But the O.J. Howard thing, now that Mike Evans is gone, I think O.J. Howard becomes a big receiving threat. And you may see volume there at O.J. Howard because of, and they're against Detroit, who sucks. God, Detroit, they just can't keep it together. They just can't keep it together. But I think O.J. Howard now has to become more of a receiving option, you know, because of the fact that Mike Evans is gone. I like O.J. Howard better than Brashad Perriman. But at the end of the day, again, you know, Andrews has been the man, even though he's banged up. You know, I think tonight is a very, very, very good night for the Baltimore Ravens. I really do. Marty, how are you? Welcome to the show. Marty Fiddleman. Key Lewis, what's up, guy? What a party on Monday. That was a pretty good one. Got a little loose. And then, but we're talking fantasy football. Obviously, if you have a lineup question, I mean, this is when it really gets so agonizing, you know. But this is my and I have, here are my choices. My choices at running back fucking suck. I picked up Byron Scott. I love that they still think DeAndre Washington. Thank you, my man. Thank you, Key. They think DeAndre Washington is still going to play for Josh Jacobs. And listen, Josh Jacobs, he's clearly been cleared to go. Again, DeAndre Washington was one of those guys. If it's one thing I learned from losing in the championship last season, is that you have to play defense on the waiver wire. In other words, you have to pick up guys that the opponent might pick up if some of his guys go down. And so I've really focused on that in this round. And so that's why I picked up Jimmy Garoppolo. That's why I picked up DeAndre Washington. That's why I picked up Noah Fant, because I'm afraid these are guys, and Tyler Higbee, because I thought there were guys that he might end up going and getting. All right, so let's look at the NFL matchups really quickly. Jonathan Mesh, Mack, Connor, Drake, or Mostert for RB2. These are some really nice choices. Now, Mack and Connor are so banged up, you just can't trust them at this point. You can't. Hey, did you see my co-host right here? Dakota Rain Prescott? Okay. Thanks, Marty. Marty says, you should coach the Cowboys. I probably should. Mack, Connor, Drake, or Mostert. Your two choices there are going to be Drake or Mostert. Now, in our league of record, the Silent Nation League, I'm going with Drake in that one over a lot of a couple of really good guys. Now, but Mostert, and this is the thing, right now, you have to go with Mostert. It's a great matchup, and the coaching has come out and said, no, we have to give Mostert, he demands it, we got to give it to him. I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if they came out and fucked everybody and made it a huge Matt Breida day, just because they'd be looking for, I just say don't be surprised, but now Drake really, but he's been really off the game lately, but he's had a couple of ridiculously difficult matchups right in a row. I think this week Drake does have a good game, but with these choices, I think you have to go Mostert. I just do. All signs are pointing his direction, but Drake or Mostert, those are your two choices there. Connor and Mack, you can't trust him to stay on the field. Mack looked really not good last week. That hand thing is obviously still really hurting him. And Connor, I mean, yeah, he's banged up. He's in, he's out. I wouldn't trust him as far as you could throw him. Drake or Mostert, for sure. But for me, I've got in, obviously you're playing Derrick Henry, which I'm actually, because I have Derrick Henry, who I love so much, which I told you, and I think he's just really getting going. But I'm playing Derrick Henry, who I hope doesn't have that great of a game, but he's up against the Houston defense, which is horrible against the run. And then my choices are Kenyon Drake, Melvin Gordon, who's going up against Minnesota, which is a very tough run defense, and he's not been running that hard. Kareem Hunt, who's been very, very good, has a great matchup down there in Arizona, but he's clearly the RB2 on the team. You want your RB2 to at least be the RB1 on his own team. And Phillip Lindsay, who is the RB1, but just continues to disappoint game after game. And I have Sony Michel, who has a great matchup against Cincinnati, but I think he showed up late to practice or something. He did something to piss off Bill Belichick, and so he's done something that has made them decide not to use him. So you would play Kareem Hunt even though he's second fiddle, although he is getting he gets the PPR points. And I think he scored a touchdown in 3 of the last 4 games. So I like that thought too of playing Kareem Hunt, but at least we know Kenyon Drake is the RB1, and that matchup against Cleveland is pretty favorable. So I kind of like going with Kareem Hunt on this one. Or rather, I like Kenyon Drake in this one, but I have been considering Kareem Hunt. Okay, here we go. Higbee or Hollister. Tyler Higbee all day. And I'll tell you why: volume. He's clearly become a very real part of that passing offense. He's not, and it doesn't seem to be game to game. I'm playing him as well in my semifinal game. He was a guy I couldn't believe I managed to pick up. But I mean, if you look at his stats, look at his last couple of games, 17, 22. The progression is there. Now, before that, it was pretty bad because he wasn't the number one guy. They were still trying to use Gerald Everett. But now he's become the number one guy. And again, it's another plus matchup. Dallas, number 2, they're 23rd out of 32 against the pass for tight ends. I think you must play Hollister. While he's had a couple of good games here and there, he doesn't seem to be a fully integrated part of that passing game, whereas Higbee absolutely seems to be. So as someone who had Hollister on his roster for a while, he's just not. There were a couple games there where he was really a part of it, and it doesn't seem like he is anymore. So for me, that's a no-brainer. That's Higbee. What do you guys think? You guys chime in. Would you play Higbee or would you play Hollister? And really quickly, if we go up here, let me look at these. Where is it? And Seattle gets the Panthers, which, I mean, the Panthers, let's be honest, they're slipping, man. And that's one of those teams, like, sometimes they relieve the coach and all of a sudden there's an uptick in energy and everything gets better. This is the total opposite. They fired a coach that obviously these players really loved and believed in, and now they're playing like shit. So, I mean, this might be, but that's the thing. You don't know if that means good things for Hollister. You know that it means good things for DK Metcalf. You know that it means good things for Chris Carson. You know it means good things for Tyler Lockett. I don't know if it means anything for Jacob Hollister, because if this Panthers defense is totally laying off the gas, I don't think that they're going to need to go to Hollister all that much. Sean McBride, welcome to the show. Right, only if I think even if Gerald Everett is healthy, he's been so banged up, I think Higbee stays in it. I think Higbee is still reliable in this position, even if Gerald Everett is quote-unquote questionable. And let's take a look. Let's see what it's saying right now. In the most current version of this, let's take a look. We'll go to players. Let's look up Gerald on the new iPad Pro, so fast. Gerald Everett, I mean, he's listed as questionable. He's not even given a points projection right now. I mean, even if he's considered day-to-day, I don't think they play him that much. Why would they? Tyler Higbee's been so effective. I don't think you worry about Gerald Everett going into this weekend. I know, I don't like to play anybody against my beloved Cowboys either, but listen, Higbee, I think, is the better choice. I think Higbee will have a nice day. I really do. I know, because I'm playing him too. That's how you know that I really believe in it. DJ Moore is in that game against Seattle. And this is a tough play for me because DJ Moore has been so consistent. He's been so great, but this team seems to really be on the decline. And the Seattle defense, they got Clowney back. They're playing lights out defense. With that, I'm really afraid the big disappointment this week is going to be DJ Moore. But on the upside, when Seattle gets out to a big lead on them, they're going to have to throw the ball. And the most reliable, dependable guy on that whole team right now is DJ Moore. So, I'm hoping, if nothing else, some garbage time points, some garbage time action out of just trying to claw their way back into it. So, but again, even if Everett is somehow I think Higbee remains the guy in the lineup. But that is something to monitor. And I don't know about you guys, but especially this week, I'm going to be up at 9 a.m. checking who's in, who's out, who's available. And that's going to be on my list of guys that I have to really pay attention to. Is Gerald Everett expected to play? But again, he's so banged up. And he didn't do anything better than Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee's been better than Gerald Everett. So for me, I think even if Gerald Everett is in there, but of course I've got it backed up too. I picked up Noah Fant. Noah Fant is one of those guys you could see he's got the ability, he's got the talent, and now Drew Lock seems to see him. He seems to really see him, whereas the other guy, he couldn't, he didn't seem to really be able to keep that connection going. I think Drew Lock's looking pretty good. We'll see now that some tape starts to get out on him, whether or not he's able to. So, but Noah Fant can back him up for me. He's also a 10 a.m.er. And, so it'll be one or the other, that's for sure. But the Tyler Higbee's in the afternoon. Ooh, it just got dangerous. I'm sticking with him. I really think Tyler Higbee's going to be pretty solid. Let's look at these games. Who's good? Buccaneers, Lions. Like I said, O.J. Howard. If you picked up O.J. Howard, I think this week might be a great time to play O.J. Howard. And in fact, what time is that game at? That game is at everything's at 10 a.m. It's one of those ones where there's 9 games at 10 a.m. and then there's only one game later. So, but there's a lot, Jets, Ravens. Ravens are going to blow them out. Eagles, Redskins. Listen, this Redskins team, they're starting to believe this is not a cakewalk for the Eagles at all. I think that, although, fuck you, Ertz. You motherfucker, okay? This guy did nothing for me all season, and he was like the last name player that I had that I could trade. And I traded him for Emmanuel Sanders, which the only reason it hasn't been a great trade is because he's been injured. But now you can see that the chemistry is there with Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's still the most athletic wide receiver on that team. And we saw it last week. Now that his rib is healthy, obviously he was just being a decoy there for a few weeks. But I think now the rib is healthy. They're willing to let him get hit again. I hope I make the finals, and I hope the guy I traded for Ertz makes the finals. And I hope Sanders and Ertz get to fucking go against each other for the fucking win, because that'd be fucking great. But fuck you, Ertz, because you were shit until I traded him the week that all of a sudden he turned it around and became fucking great again. I'm like, what? Where were you all fucking season? On the Redskins side of the ball, look at Darius Guice. Can I tell you, Darius Guice did what I thought Dalvin Cook was going to do. Because Dalvin Cook's always injured, so I thought that's exactly what's going to happen with him again this year. And no, I was wrong. He had incredible. But Darius Guice comes out. He's the guy that's always injured, and of course he's in one game good enough to knock me out of the playoffs, and then disappears for the rest of the fucking God. I tell you, and that's the harsh reality of the whole thing. Texans and Titans. Listen, the Titans defense is actually very good, particularly against the run. And that's why in this matchup, I like the fact that the Titans are going to stop the run and force them to throw the ball, which is going to open up the points on the top side of the ball. But on the ups, but this Titans defense is very, very good. And this is a Titans defense fighting for a playoff spot. So God damn, this is going to be a tighter, tougher game than people think, because Derrick Henry is going to help them control the clock. I don't know how much the Texans are even going to be on the field on offense. Listen, this is a tough one, so tough. This might be a lower scoring affair than you would think. That's a tough game right there. Don't play the Texans defense. I love Derrick Henry, but I'm kind of hoping he goes out in like the second quarter, because I'm up against him in my semifinal match, even though he's going to be my keeper for next year. Dolphins, Giants. What do we got here? Dolphins, Giants, Dolphins. Listen, I'm hoping Evan Ingram comes back. And I've got Saquon. And listen, Saquon's been awful this year. Not the guy you expect. Just like Kamara. The two guys that were to me, Kamara had the best situation going into this season. Then Christian McCaffrey. Then Saquon Barkley. But McCaffrey exploded, and then the other two kind of, So the Dolphins, I expect nothing out of them, except, Devontae Parker has gone out now. I mean, the Giants' defense might be a play. They actually might be a decent streamer if you got to roll the dice, or if you're doing daily fantasy, want to get a cheap defense, get that Giants defense. But hopefully, especially, I kind of wish Eli would play, although I guess they're going to put back in that Daniel Jones guy, who's also pretty good. But if Evan Ingram plays, he should have a great day. And Saquon, you owe me, man. You owe me for this whole fucking season. You owe me right now. You need to show up in this fucking game. You got a great matchup, and he's finally been running like himself again. So despite everything, I'd like Saquon Barkley to really, finally, completely go off. I'm talking 2 touchdowns. I'm talking 100+ yards. I'm like 124. I expect Saquon Barkley to finally have the day we've been waiting for all season. I think it happens this Sunday, just in time to send me into the fucking championship game. And I want you to know something. If I don't make the finals, this is my last broadcast of the season. Because I don't know, man. It's so hard when you're out of it to give a shit. But I will have the consolation match if I lose. So, to play for third place, I'll have a shot at third place. So, Broncos, Chiefs. Listen. This is not a great game for Mahomes, because Mahomes is so beat up. So in my other league, I have Mahomes, beat up Mahomes, my league of record. And then I also have Baker Mayfield, who's got that versus Arizona, who is the number one fucking awful against the quarterback. They give up the most points against the quarterback of anybody. And it's hard to put your season on the line when you have Mahomes and to think that you're not going to play him for Baker Mayfield. But the fact of the matter is Mahomes hurt his throwing hand. But he did practice in full. Practice says his hand feels better. There's no broken bones. So despite everything, I don't think I cannot play Patrick Mahomes. I think I have to play him. Listen, but last week was, again, it was nice to know I would have lost in the first round of the playoffs because Mahomes didn't play that great. And knowing that, at least I would rather play for first pick in next year's draft than just be out right now. Like come on, man, and the butcher. And Drew Lock is looking really good, huh, guys? Isn't Drew Lock looking fantastic? Bears and Packers. Listen, I am hoping the Bears show. This is a rivalry game. They're in Green Bay, but that doesn't matter. The Packers are used to it. So I think, you know what? Allen Robinson to me is the only guy you could actually play with any certainty. I like the Packers defense in this one. I think they do pretty well because, again, they're at home. And this is the weather where Aaron Rodgers excels. I'm hoping the Bears defense fucking acts like the defense everyone thought they were going to be this year. Even though I didn't really think that. I was like, really? They're the number one defense for this season? And no, they've sucked. But hopefully they can pull it together and slow down Aaron Jones and stop. You know what? If you got to stop anybody, just stop Aaron Rodgers. Buccaneers at Lions. Listen, what's his name has been slinging the ball around a lot, and I think he continues to do that, and that's why I think O.J. Howard becomes a major streaming option because of the fact that I think he's with Mike Evans gone, that's a ton of extra, and somebody's got to get loose. Somebody's got to catch those balls to open up. Now, the guy that I think really takes the hit now is Godwin. If you've been riding Godwin all season, guess what? The Godwin train is about to get hurt because now, coverage, double coverage all day long. If you're counting on Chris Godwin to take you to I wouldn't play him in daily fantasy. I wouldn't play, yes, his targets may go up, but I think his coverage is going to go up as well. Unfortunately, I think O.J. Howard is a beneficiary, and I think that and possibly Rojo as well, but I think I think Godwin has a tougher time now. On the Lions side of the ball, it just sucks. Bo Scarborough is a talent he just can't break out. He can't seem to do it, and Buccaneers are no opportunity to do that. But I do like Bo Scarborough. But the Buccaneers defense against the run, very good. Against the pass, very bad. But you got Blau, I think, is going to throw the ball again. Let's see if Stafford is back. Let's see what's going on with Stafford. What do you say? Let's see what they're... although Stafford's probably the same as he's been for the last few weeks, which is day-to-day, and that kind of sucks. Stafford. There he is. Bring him up. Boop. Boop. Yeah, he's not practicing. Yeah, it's going to be Blau again, which means, you know what? It's tough to start Kenny Golladay. It's tough to start anybody because of the quarterback. You want better quarterback play than that, and that's not, so that makes it very tough. And, of course, Marvin Jones is gone now, so all the attention is going to be on Golladay. If anything, maybe Hawkinson, much like with the O.J. Howard thing, this may be the battle of the tight ends. Hawkinson may actually become relevant again for this one game. Garoppolo or Mahomes? Cass, now listen. I want you to listen to me very closely. Garoppolo or Mahomes? This is very tough because on paper it seems like you have to start Mahomes. Seems like it. I'm struggling with this too, but I don't have Jimmy G. I've got Baker, who does have a great matchup. But you've got Garoppolo, who also has a great matchup and is on fire at this memento. So it raises a very... Oh, Hawkinson's on IR. Okay, forget about Hawkinson, the other guy. Garoppolo or Mahomes? Let's stick to that question, which is... for me, I got to say Garoppolo. I think Garoppolo is a much safer choice here. The Denver defense is very good, particularly against the pass. They've got a very good pass rush, and Mahomes is just beat up. And we've seen that in his last couple of games. Let's look at Mahomes, his scores the last few games. 16, 21, 16. Okay? So he hasn't been... Now, before that, he was 41. But after that, it's been pretty not spectacular. And whereas if you look at the most recent scores out of Jimmy G, Jimmy Garoppolo is going with, let's see what we got here. Let's go Jimmy G. His are 37. He had a 10, a 20, 24, and a 41. Then 11, 35. So, I mean, but lately he's just been so hot. I don't know. And with that matchup against Atlanta, who gives up the 5th most points to quarterback, and Denver does not. Okay, but here's the most important thing. You must go with your gut. You got to go with your heart. You got to go with what you really believe in. And that's what you got to do. You know, at the end of the day, you'll have people that'll tell you one side, there'll people tell you the other side, and you just want to know that you started the guy that in your heart you totally believed in. But for me, with those two, as tough as a decision as it is, I personally would go with Garoppolo. That's just me. It's easy to say because it's not my team. I've got Garoppolo and Watson, but Watson's, not his hand isn't injured, his leg isn't injured, God, he's been so Mahomes been so beat up this season. I'm assuming that's DJ Chark because you have D Clark, so I'm assuming that's DJ Chark. Jason, what's up, buddy? You're still in it. You're in the semifinals. Woo! I think you might win it all. Your team is on fire. So I think it's DJ Chark or Mack or Sutton. Ooh. You got Denver there against... Kansas City defense. To be honest, Kansas City defense is like the Atlanta defense. Even though they're not ranked very high, they've gotten a lot better in the last couple of games. It's kind of weird. And Jacksonville is up against... who are they up? Let me get back to this. Because I was just looking at that game, too. Oh, Jackson was up against the Raiders. And Indianapolis is up against the Saints. Well, listen, the reality is you got to start Mack. I think you got to go Clark from Jacksonville. You mean Chark. DJ Chark. Right, DJ Chark. But Jacksonville is not, although they do have Gardner Minshew back, and they're up against the Raiders. That could be a good game for Chark. On paper, you want to say Mack, but Mack has been so beat up. Let's see what they're saying about Mack. Let's take a look what the update is. Let's get the most interesting stuff. Marlon Mack, let's see. Versus New Orleans, tough matchup, number 8. I don't see anything. I don't see anything new. So, unfortunately, it says he's healthy. I think you got to go with Mack. I think you got to go with Mack. And John Mesh thinks John Mesh is saying you're going to get juiced. It's payback time because Cockburn already beat you twice. And it is hard to beat somebody 3 times in one season. But I think he's good. I don't know, Mesh. I don't know. You may get juiced. It may be Cockburn. He may make that cock burn. And it burns, my man. He burned me twice. And he's one of those goddamn fucking auto draft teams. And let me tell you something else. Hey, you're welcome, Rick. And listen, again, go with your gut. Go with your heart. Play the guy that you really believe in. Chark might have a pretty good day, but you know for a fact that Marlon Mack is going to get the ball. But versus New Orleans is a pretty tough matchup. I don't know. It's between Chark and Mack. Sutton, on the other hand, he's got Drew Lock throwing to him now, too. Ooh, wait a minute. And they're in Denver, I believe. Isn't that right? Let's take a look. Doop, boop. Sutton. Let's look at Cortland. Yes, they are in Denver. Versus Kansas City, technically Kansas City is number 2 against the wide receiver right now. Wow. Yeah, I think you got to go with Mack. I think Mack, testing the waters. If Mack plays, you got to play Marlon Mack. No other choices to me. But go with your gut. Go with the guy you believe in. Go with God. May we all go with God, even though he doesn't give a fuck about any of this. Let's see what else we got left. What are the games? Browns and Cardinals. Listen, I love the Browns in this one. And Cardinals too. Browns defense hasn't been playing that great. I think, I do think what's his name, the running back, Drake is going to have a good game. I think Kyler Murray has a pretty decent game. I mean, Kyler Murray, though, I think that hamstring is bothering him more than he lets on. I think because he doesn't seem to be quite as mobile as we thought, but I think this is a good day offensively for both these teams. This might be a good day that Christian Kirk comes back. We'll see. Vikings, Chargers. Listen, that Chargers defense, they are hot and cold. Hot and cold. But they're going to be playing here in Los Angeles. Man, maybe I should go to that game. Anyway, Vikings versus the Chargers. Vikings should have another good day. Again, Thielen might play, but I think if Thielen plays, I don't think you can play him in your lineup. I think if Thielen plays, he's just a decoy. I think that's all that's going to happen there. And of course, the guy that probably is going to have a good game, Rudolph. Rudolph should have a pretty good game in this one, Jaguars, Raiders. Listen, I'd like both the running backs in this one for sure. On the Jaguar side of the ball, that's who I like is Leonard Fournette. And with Minshew back, G.J. Chark should be back too. So, you do have to think about that, and the Raiders are not that great of a defense. They've had a couple of great days, so we'll see. And I think this is the last game. Think about that too. Think about this too. It could be I think it's the last game in Oakland, Alameda County Stadium, or whatever the Oakland Raiders Stadium is. So they may play above their pay grade. Great. However, they may also come out and suck a dick, and that wouldn't surprise me either. But with Minshew back, I think DJ Chark is startable as well. Browns, Cardinals. We've already talked about that. Falcons, Niners. I think the defense just shuts the Falcons down hard. And the Falcons defense has been playing better, but against this Niners team, I think the Niners go out there. Washington or Jacob on the Raiders? Well, that's the thing. If Jacobs starts, you have to start Jacobs. And Washington, you only start if Jacobs cannot start. Now, that being said, this is a very difficult week for anybody that has Josh Jacobs because it could very easily be one of those things where Jacobs comes in, takes a few hits, and goes right the fuck back out. And he walks right out the door with your shot at a championship with it. Jacobs is shaky in that regards. And Washington, you can't put him in unless Jacobs is definitely out for the game. But Jacobs is definitely in for the game. He is going to start this game. But I think it's dicey because he's a running back. His job is to get hit. And when you have a shoulder issue like that, I think it was a shoulder, what do you think they're going to hit? His fucking shoulders. I don't know. It becomes very precarious. I think you definitely cannot start Washington, but I think you have to sit Jacobs this week. I think he's a wait and see, unless you just don't have anybody better, because he's definitely going to play. If he plays, you play him, unless you have somebody just as good that you can fill in with. But because the kid's been great, but this injury thing, again, I just see it becoming a problem again during this game. And if he doesn't sit out all of it, he's definitely going to sit out some of it. So, Saints, Colts. Listen, man, fired up! As we've seen, the Saints team, man, is going to turn into total fucking shootouts. And I think they're willing to shoot it out with them. But the Saints defense has been statistically very, very good this year, and the Colts defense has been statistically very better than people thought they were going to be. Jim Trino, welcome to the show. We're talking fantasy football. If you're still in it, let's chop it up. But either way, I think you safely play both directions because we've seen high-scoring games coming out of these Saints on a pretty regular basis. So again, I think you got to play Marlon Mack. They're saying he's healthy. If he's healthy, play Marlon Mack. But DJ Chark could. At least Mack is going to handle the ball. So, but Chark's solid, and honestly, Cortland Sutton's pretty solid too. But he has the toughest matchup against the Chiefs defense, which is absolutely resurgent, number 2 against the pass. So, Breeze or Lamar? Woo! Woo! I say, as I am with my Deshaun Watson choice, you dance with the one that brung you. So, you've been riding Lamar all season long. I think you got to stick with Lamar. I think you have to. And again, I don't think he's that banged up. Little thigh thing. I think he'll be. I think it's better than a hand thing on the hand you grip the fucking football with, which is what Mahomes has, along with an ankle and a fucking kneecap. But Breeze, it's been lights out. He's really been tossing the rock versus a Colts defense Let's just see what these guys are saying about you. Let's just see what they say about old Breezy. Let's just look. He's projected at what? He's projected at 24. The matchup, Indianapolis 13th, right there, middle of the pack. You're afraid that they pull, if it's a drubbing, that they pull Lamar Jackson. That's what you're afraid of. And that's legit because, as I said, I think the defense is going to do most of the work tonight. I think the defense is going to come out, and I think they're going to score. I think they're going to shut them down. I think it's very, very difficult for the Jets to get anything going. And so that may happen. So I don't know, when you look at someone who threw 40 passes for 350 yards last week, you look at the game log, 49, but then 13, but 28, 25, 11. You know what? This might be one of those situations. And RG3 comes in. I don't think they pull him before the fourth quarter, at least. And I think he gets it done for you by then. I really do. Let's see. Lamar, they have projected at 26 points. Let's look at his game log versus similar teams. 24, 25, 41, 37. Dude, the consistency is too good. The consistency is just too good with Lamar Jackson. I think you got to stick with him. The consistency is just too much. I think it's too good. And who knows? Maybe the Jets come alive and they throw some points up on the board and make it a contest. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a lot of Ravens defense feasting on fucking broken down Jets. That's what I think is going to fucking happen. But I don't think they pull I don't think they put RG3 in until at least halfway through the fourth quarter. Or at least some of the fourth. But again, as I've said, go with God. Make your choices. Whoever you really believe in, I know you're battling with it. And that's a problem. This is the Jimmy G, Deshaun Watson situation that I'm in. But I'm going to dance with the one that brung me. I'm going to stick with my man, Deshaun Watson, and count on him to carry me all the way to a championship victory. And I may be weeping on Monday. I may be absolutely just devastated, crying that I didn't play Jimmy G. And that is the harsh reality of fantasy football. You guys, this is so much fun. I love you guys so much. This has been a pretty good one. I think we've covered it. And listen, Scott, you know what? I think being afraid that they pull him early only means that they're way up and he scored a bunch of points. So if they pull him early, I don't think that's what you should base this decision on. I think you should just base the decision on who you think is going to, the guy you really believe. Yo, Beastie, what's up, brother? Running back, yes. Mack, Sanders, or Mostert? Listen, right now, all signed, and right now, it should be Mostert. But as I said, we're talking about Shanahanigans, and they do goofy stuff. And just because it was all, even because if you think about it, giving Mostert all that running, all that yardage was also Shanahanigans, Greg the Leg Wilson, woo! And so those were Shanahanigans. So what if they do it again and it turns into a Matt Breida day? Because Matt Breida's healthy and running great. So, that's my only trepidation with that, is that they're goofy. They're fucking goofy. At least Mack, they're going to hand the ball, but he has a horrible matchup against New Orleans. Sanders, I wouldn't even touch Sanders because now there's that Boston Scott guy who might come in and take his fucking reps. So long as you're talking about Miles Sanders, not the wide receiver, Emmanuel Sanders. But in this instance, Rick, for me, I would say Mostert, but again, go with God. Make the choice that you believe in. Whatever your heart really says to do it. That's the way it goes, and you got to live with the harsh reality of fantasy football. I'm Greg Romero Wilson. This is probably my penultimate podcast of the season. It takes so long to get here, and can you believe we've already gone through 15 weeks? And that's of actual play. That's not counting the 4 weeks before that where we're scheming and setting up the whole, the draft and the posters and and the boards and coordinating our teams and getting everybody watching. Will the New England defense return to greatness? The answer, Tony Daniel, is sadly, because I'm playing against them, yes. The New England defense should absolutely go off against the Bungles. Exactly, Brian. I know. It's almost like you just wanted me to say it so he can enjoy hearing it. Now, I will say this. Okay, this whole Tapegate thing that just happened, that's kind of a little mind fucker. You know, it can throw off a team's energy. So that's the only X factor that could possibly in some way out of nowhere, like, not make New England look like the greatest defense on the fucking planet. But the reality is the New England defense should absolutely just fucking tear ass. Okay, come Sunday. It should be similar to what, luckily I have the Ravens against them. It should be, and unfortunately I think it might actually be better than what my Ravens defense is going to do to the Jets tonight. It may be the number one thing, is that New England defense against the Bungles. That's absolutely right. Yes, and Jason, that Patriots defense has been money for you all season, and I expect them to absolutely fucking just rip it. And you know what? And can I tell you something? Brian says, Pats have been cheating for years and keep winning rings. Their psyche is fine with it. Here's the thing, though. They've always kind of gotten away with it. And that's the thing is, I'm wondering if what we're seeing now is the first thread of an unraveling, like when we had that incredible, unbelievable run by Lance Armstrong, where he won like 7 Tour de France's in like 8 or 9 years. And you're like, wow, no one can ever do it. Then all of a sudden you found out, oh my God, there's a reason that he was so extraordinary. And I'm wondering if this whole dynasty winds up becoming an entire thing looked at as fraud. That in fact their whole thing was to steal signals, so they always knew what the opposing defenses were going to do, and that was the secret formula the whole fucking time. And wouldn't that just be delicious? Good luck, everybody. On to the championships!